Hey guys, welcome back to another video in Java tutorial series. In this video I want to talk about methods. Methods is again a vital concept in Java, and after talking about classes, objects and data types, I think method would be the next appropriate step to learn about. So let's quickly uh, learn about methods now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create methods, and this is our project. So let's create a package inside our Java folder. I'm gonna click on Java, to the right click there, and we'll go to new, and we'll create a new package altogether. Okay, and we'll name our package as a methods. So basically package as a think of a package as an entity where we can uh, put our different classes and interface together, right? So for the package name methods, we're going to put all the examples of methods, or the sample examples of methods. So that's why I'm creating it as a separate entity where I'm going to write code for methods specifically, right? So I typed in methods, I'm going to press enter now. So you can see IntelliJ has created a new package named methods. Now I'm going to right click and create a new class here, and since we are talking about methods, we'll name appropriately. So the name of the class should be, let's just say sample, or let's say method video. So you can see our class method video has been created inside methods package. There's another package, classes and objects. This is for the video that we have already covered, so we don't I'll keep it closed. So let's go into this class method video. Alright, so as we discussed earlier, we have created a class type and a class name in front of that. Now every class can have multiple methods in it, right? So let's start from the very beginning, and let's discuss about the method signature. So to start with, a method should contain a return type, right? Or if it doesn't return anything, then we define a void for that, right? So void means this method is not going to return anything, right? So this is the return type, and then now after that we define the name of the methods, right? So we'll say say method that returns void. A little big name, but we can have a smaller name, really doesn't matter, up to us. So this method has a return type void, and this is the name of the method. That's pretty much it, right? This is a very basic method signature, right? Now let's create another method that returns void again, and we'll say another method that returns void. Now we also can supply different arguments to this. So let's say we can say this method takes a string as a first argument, and then um, say integer as a second argument, right? Arg2, and then we do a opening braces and a closing braces, right? So what essentially we are saying, that whenever we're going to call this method, another method that returns void, we have to send two arguments with it, and we'll see in a minute that how can we do that, right? So these are two different type of function signature that returns void. Let's go back to the first method again, and we're going to write a simple print statement, system.out.print, and we'll say method is returning nothing. All right, and similarly we can going to write another print statement here, and then let's try to print out these argument that came in. So we'll say argument 1, and then in the next line we'll say argument 2. All right, so now very pretty straightforward. We created two methods, one takes two arguments, another one takes nothing, and we're going to call that now. So we're going to our base class hello world.java, and let's see how we can call that. So inside this class, I need to, you can see this hello world exists outside this methods package, right? So when we now the question in front of us is how should we call inside, how should we go inside methods package and call this guy, right? So um, let me see what was the class name. The class name was method video, so I'm going to say method video. As soon as I type method video, IntelliJ suggest me it's inside methods package, right? So I'm going to press enter. So you can see at the top IntelliJ automatically imported that package for us, right? So I need to create an instance of that class. So I'll say method video, new method video. So that's how we have created an instance. You can name it anything. You can say instance 1 or whatever name you like. Generally it's a good idea to name your instance as the name of your class, right? So you can during your entire program you can actually tell what kind of instance is that. Alright, so now we have a method video instance. We can now access both of that method. So as soon as I pressed dot, we don't see any of the method here, right? The reason for that is there is no, these methods are not public right now, right? We will discuss in a later video why we need public, but just for make them work, we'll add public in front of that. Just to give you guys a brief idea, public makes these method visible outside this package, right? So I just added public in front of that. Now I go back again. Now as soon as I press dot, we'll be able to see both methods here, right? So I'm going to use the first method, a method that returns void. I'm going to call that. In order to call a method, we just name the method and then we write open and closing brackets and the semicolon at the end. And now let's call another method using the same instance. I will say another method that returns void. And now if I just do that, you can see IntelliJ is complaining here saying create another method takes 2 arguments, string and int. So I have to supply 2 arguments here. So let's say we'll say first argument is a string, so is going to be inside in double quotes, and I'm going to say video, and the second argument is going to integers, so I have to write an integer here. Let's say 10. That's it, and you can see the error just went away because we have supplied 2 arguments. And now let's comment this guy for now. Alright, so I'm going to run this class. I can do right click and run, or I can click this green play button. I'm just gonna hit that. So you can see when we did this, so this guy method is returning void, it's called. So this got printed on the screen. You can see in the terminal method is returning nothing. Then we called this guy, and this guy printed 2 things, the argument 1 which is video and the argument 2 which is 10, right? So now we basically are able to call these 2 methods from outside the package, right? So now let's create another method. We can create another method. Let's just make public let's just make all the methods public so they are visible, and we'll return a string this time instead of void, and we'll say this is the method that returns a string, right? Again, I'm just using a bigger name here, but you can use a smaller name that returns a string. And we'll, in order to return something, we'll use keyword return, and we'll just return something, just say sample string, and that should be good. And now let's call this guy from our hello world class. Again, same thing, we have instance handy, so we'll call method video dot method that returns a string. Alright, so since it's returning something, we need to accept that return, right? So this guy is going to return us a string, we need to accept that in something. Since it's a string, we're going to accept that in a string. Let's say string s. So now the whatever value this guy returns us is going to come inside this s variable. And let's print that guy out dot print s. Okay, let's run the method again, the class again. So you can see sample string printed out because this guy returned sample string, and we put that inside s, and then we printed s here. Alright, so we have seen three different type of function signature, method signature I should call rather. Similarly, I think now it's variations of these three different kind. We can have this guy return integer, right? So we can write int. If we want this guy to return double, we can write double, right? One thing to remember, if you returning int here but you're returning a string, then it'll error out for you. So you have to make sure you're returning the appropriate thing. So if you want it to return an integer, you should return an integer, right? So you should write 10 here, or any integer for that matter. Okay. Alright, so let's create a small class that demonstrate the different methods. So I'm going to create a new class here, and we'll create a kind of a mini project here. So we'll say we'll do a calculator project, right? So and name my Java class name as a calculator, and then we can create multiple methods inside it, right? So let's create one method that's going to calculate sum for us. So as like just like calculator, we can add two numbers, so we're going to add two numbers. So since we are adding two numbers, our method name can be, you know, add or sum or addition, something like that. And then since it's adding two numbers, is going to return an integer, it's going to accept two integers, right? So it's going to return an integer, so I'm going to write int here, and then let's name the method add. Is going to take two integers, so I have integer argument 1, integer argument 2, and now we can add these two numbers, right? So I say integer, let's just add these two numbers, argument 1 plus argument 2, right? And now we need to since we have added that, we need to store that addition into a different variable. So we'll create a new variable, integer sum, and we'll store the result inside sum, and we'll just simply return this sum, right? So as you can see, the return type is integer, that's why I'm returning a sum integer type, right? I cannot create this guy as a string and return a string, it will error out, right? Similarly, you can create a subtraction method, you can create a multiplication, deletion, and stuff like that. The logic is going to, you know, change inside, but the function signature, the method signature stays same. So from the main class, we can, let's comment these guys out, and now let's, from the main class, we're going to call calculator. So I'll write calculator new calculator, right? And then we'll say calculator do sum for me, right, for these two numbers. So I want to add 5 and 10, right? So calculator is going to add 5 and 10 and return 15 to me. Since it's returning something, I should store that in a variable. So I'll say integer result, and then I'll print out this result. Okay, let's run this method quickly. So you can see on the screen it's printing 15. That means everything worked just fine. It added these two numbers, returned 15, and then we accepted that 15 and printed on a screen, right? So again, this is a small exercise we wanted to do just to revise the concept that we covered. So